on American foreign policy. He is due to speak at West Point Military Academy's commencement in about 2 hours from now. And aides say that the president will lay out his vision for America's role in the world going forward. Now, the president is also expected to defend his record against critics who say that he's been weak on issues like the civil war in Syria and Russia's annexation of Crimea. Our Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr joins us now live from Washington. Barbara, what will the president say in this speech?
Well, Christy, what White House officials are indicating is the president is going to lay out a U.S. foreign policy strategy for the years ahead, sort of closing the chapter, if you will, the 9/11 chapter on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and reset foreign policy to look beyond those two wars, especially as Afghanistan now draws to a close. The challenge for the president is to show that the U.S. is still very much engaged on the world stage, even though there certainly is sort of an indication that this administration has no desire for any additional conflicts using large numbers of troops. So how do you stay engaged? He'll talk about diplomacy, about foreign policy, about helping other countries train their own troops to look after their own security needs, and walking that fine line between being engaged in the world, trying to influence events, but trying not to have any more very large-scale conflicts. Christy?
Now, Barbara, at the top of the hour, we heard that very vigorous defense from the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry about America's foreign policy. President Obama, the Obama administration, has been under criticism for what some call a passive approach on crises like what's happened in Ukraine. What is his foreign policy goal in regards to that crisis?
You know, I think Ukraine and Syria both are seeing a lot of political rhetoric in Washington from those who want to see a more interventionist strategy, which is not what the White House wants. On Ukraine, clearly, all the indications are they're going to stick with the strategy of sanctions against Russia, diplomatic and economic pressure to get the Russians to back off, to let Ukraine determine its own destiny. It remains to be seen if that's really working. It's quite interesting. We've had the elections in Ukraine now. We see Ukraine forces regaining control, apparently, in areas like Donetsk, where the fighting has been so fierce. We see some indication that Russian forces, in at least some numbers, are beginning to perhaps back off from the border with Ukraine. Is Vladimir Putin responding to these sanctions, to this pressure, or has he simply achieved his goal of causing all this unrest and turmoil? Remains to be seen, but at the moment, the strategy remains pressuring the Russians to back off and stepping up interactions with those East European neighbors to show U.S. support for them, like Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, Ukraine, all the countries in the region. Christy?
That's right. The U.S. president will be in Poland next week. Barbara Starr reporting live from the Pentagon. Thank you.